Greetings! After a beautifully harmonious experience for the past few months on LuchaWorld, unfortunately, Vandal Drummond has returned. So after some brilliant episodes where Fredo and his niece Rihanna have just beautified internet radio, I'm returning, and the fun comes to an end. This is Vandal Drummond, the Freak, and I am here with Fredo Esparza, who has to revert to being Frito once again.
You know, my niece is going to be disappointed that you're back.
But
you know, she also kind of messed up because she kept playing around with the recorder the entire time. She wanted to hold it so you could hear like her moving it around.
Oh my gosh, how funny! No, yeah. Well, then we must have her do a run-in one of these days. And
she refused to watch. She wanted to watch less wrestling than you do.
So she wanted to watch.
Absolutely.
-5 minutes.
Yes, minus 5 minutes of wrestling. Although you've had 2 months off. So, actually, I wanted to ask you before we start an update on your Lucha Underground viewing.
Oh Lord, you know what?
You're still stuck on the last 4 that you watched 2 months ago.
Yeah, the last show we were on when we were talking about the recent episodes. There's a very good chance I'm going to see some tonight because I'm going to going to hang with my brother.
I was going to say skip the rest. Don't watch anymore.
Really? Seriously?
It's horrible. Lots of sexy star. I'm just kidding. Don't say that because we might have a guest later on, so I don't want to.
We won't say a word then.
We won't say anything negative about Lucha Underground. We'll let Lucha. I'll say it all on Lucha Talk. I'll blame it on the Lucha Talk.
Every now and then, Elena and I, we go over to her brother's and we have a slumber party, and it's so great because he downloads all this awesome stuff from torrent sites. He finds all these really offbeat documentaries.
No, he doesn't. He pays for it.
Yes, he does. But these are legal torrents. Legal torrents.
Yes.
Oh my God. No.
LuchaWorld.
My brother-in-law is a very honest man. Okay, this is how honest he is. He makes Honest Abe Lincoln look like Dr. Mike Lano. That's how truthful he is.
LuchaWorld and Alfredo Esparza do not agree with the... What's that? Agree with Kurt Brown's... this is all Kurt Brown's opinion.
Let's do this correctly. The opinions of Alfredo Esparza, say that.
The opinions of Alfredo Esparza and LuchaWorld.com are solely his.
Fredo, why are you crossing your fingers right now?
I like how that's not even like people are like, yeah, come on, Fredo. You're like,
you know that they,
they're like, they already know.
If they could get away with
history.
it, they would say even more if they could. You know, they do not reflect.
I think every single wrestling podcast talks about this stuff anyway. So.
Yeah, and
it's part of our nature now.
I never thought I'd see the day where wrestlers who are famous for just talking a lot of BS are probably talking less BS than all the news outlets, be it on the right wing or the left wing. Yeah, it's amazing. We're starting to live in fantasy land these days.
So you missed out on Lucha Underground the last 2 months. CMLL, have you watched? You did watch a few of those shows.
Yes, not last night's show, but the previous one.
Week.
I want to say off the bat, I'm on cloud 9 about the push Valiente's getting.
We all hate him now. This is what you've missed in the last 2 months. In the last several months, we all hate him now. Not just kidding. I'll talk about that in a bit. But I just want to go through every promotion to see if you've been watching it. AAA, you've pretty much given up on that.
Nothing. I try not to watch AAA. Yeah. AAA just annoys me. And I got to say, in all fairness, I heard there's a lot of stuff worth watching on WWE. I don't know about AAA, but
TNA, nothing.
No, TNA I don't want to watch.
Ring of Honor, you don't even have access to the show, right?
No, I could probably find it somewhere.
Yeah, so you did watch Wrestle Kingdom, right? New Japan.
I just watched the one match, Kenny Omega, and I really enjoyed that match.
I'm still on October 2016.
A lot of the story going around is people are having this big argument. Because I guess Dave Meltzer said something about it's the first match that he would give 6 stars to.
Yeah, but I think he said that he had given 6 stars to a Misawa Kawada match in '94.
Oh, that's why everybody's bringing up that match.
Yeah, I think that's okay. He's also saying that.
Yeah. I wrote on my Facebook page that I don't give stars. You know me, it's bitchin' or the show was great.
Yeah.
But if I was gonna give stars, I gave it 5 stars. But I would have given it that 6th star if, after Okada did that tombstone pile driver, he'd make like he was about to do the Rainmaker, but would reach into his trunks and bring out Mr. Sacco and put him away with a mandible claw. That would be a 6-star match.
How many... Foley had so many of those... he did that gimmick so many years where he would end matches like that. How many star ratings? How many stars did his matches get?
Oh, just for that alone, I'd get 5 stars. I don't care how good or bad the match
I
is.
laugh because there's the other debate that's been going on in Lucha has been Maximo winning with the Kiss, the hair match that he had, and that's been a big deal with the Mexican, the Spanish sport, the not the forums because now it's all on Facebook, but I just think Mick Foley winning with Sacco. There's been so many silly finishes.
Oh yeah.
I think it's funny because I think everybody points to that with Maximo, but they completely forget that the guy is a really talented wrestler and he's had really good matches.
Absolutely.
But they focus on that one thing because they posted a picture of all the champions and Maximo was one of them. Mm-hmm. And they asked Maximo on a podcast and he's like, well, you know what? I probably beat all of those guys with a kiss. Like him just joking.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's hard for a lot of people because I think a lot of us forget that wrestling is for younger. It's really for kids.
Exactly. And if you watch any wrestling, one of the biggest differences when I was a kid is you were genuinely trying to get the audience angry at the rudos or the
and
heel.
It's
and now you're just trying to pop. They're trying to pop the crowd. How people come out with it's like on that atrocious AAA show in 2015 when
that was just bad.
That was bad, atrocious, whatever. But when what's his face came out with the Donald Trump T-shirt.
Oh, I'm Cage.
It's like maybe 30 years ago that would have gotten some big heat, but it's just like it's wrestling.
Yeah. Well, what's his name's doing that now too? Sam Adonis. Only he's topping it. He puts Trump's face on
a flag,
on
right?
a flag. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But it's so different from in 1987 when we had a local team, Los Migra.
Yeah.
And I swear, I make no exaggeration. They did a 2-match program with Halcón and Halcón 78. And they won both times. It was, in fact, the second time they won was the last night the Olympic Auditorium ran for, I think, like 6 years or something like that. And I make no exaggeration when I say the ring was ankle deep with garbage and the fans were angry. And now if they did that, they'd just say, oh, boo, boo, whatever.
Yeah.
They'd politely boo.
Yeah. But it's weird because you think about it, they're getting upset about this. And, that sort of finish gimmicks and stuff like that have existed for like decades, years, centuries, a century by now.
In 1974, John Tolich had a finish where he'd put like the black glove on, the famous old black, and he did a finishing move called the corkscrew, and he'd basically have the guy in a headlock, and he'd start making a drilling motion with his knuckle on the guy's temple.
Yeah.
And that's just like the noogies you got when you were a little kid.
And it's weird because I think people who were complaining about the way Maximo won that match, and Conan was one of the guys who complained about that. And I'm like, you can't complain about how he won the match. You should be complaining about that match actually happening. Who the fuck wants to watch Maximo versus Mascherano dos Mil in 2016?
Not me, and I like Maximo.
I was like getting ready for you to say you like Mascherano dos Mil. I was going to say what?
No. Is he the one who sings, or is it?
Yeah, he's the one that
sings.
Okay,
I don't.
Universal had a stroke in late November.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, you haven't been reading LuchaWorld.
Oh, damn.
I recap like every single freaking podcast.
Oh, well,
Spanish podcast.
Well, I did read about, and I know this is something we're going to bring up, the passing of Mocho Cota.
Mocho Cota, yeah. Yeah, he passed away right after the last podcast I did. Because I know I talked about...
so you've covered
I talked about Chucho Villa. Rihanna had to hear me tell the story of Chucho Villa passing away.
Oh, wow. I have to tell you, it's very rare that I'm not very moved by a story, but the story about him passing away hours after his life
that was just weird.
No end.
Yeah, but with Mocho Cota, I think he died 3 days before Christmas.
Yes.
And he was like for about a few days where they were not sure if he was going to survive or not. But I think once they said he was, I think somebody said he was dead right away. It's like, and then El Dandy was very upset. He's like, "Don't say he's dead. They're still waiting for the family to like let the family confirm it."
You want to make an official.
Yeah. So
sure.
he's like, let the family decide.
That's not cool when they do that.
Yeah.
That's really not nice. And now he had a fall, right?
Yeah, he fell, and they don't know if it was like a brain aneurysm or he fell and then the brain aneurysm happened. But I'm guessing that it happened before and then he fell.
Yeah.
But he was. I think he was one of those guys that I think a lot of us who might have started watching Lucha a little later, like maybe in 87, 88 for me, like I think 85, 86, because by that point he wasn't even in. I think he was already leaving Arena Mexico at that time. I think we watched them like the older version, and I think we all like thought, he's not that great. But then you go back and you watch the early 80s version, and I was like, he was actually he was pretty good.
I actually saw him live on a show in Carson. If I remember correctly, it was 1994.
Yes, he was older by then.
Yeah, he was older.
His second run.
And I remember his match was good, nothing special, but I remember he was a good heel.
Yeah.
He's a very effective heel. I actually shook his hand. He actually shook my hand with
that one missing finger.
Yep.
You're like, damn, he has a soft hand, and then you look down, it's like, he's missing two fingers.
It's an invisible hand.
Yeah.
Oh no! Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Yeah.
No, but so yeah, I saw him way after the prison sentence happened, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's funny because I don't know if you know the famous publicity that Edge Strangler Lewis did way back in the 30s about how wrestlers are the most.
Of course, I remember that. No, just kidding.
No, I don't know if you heard it because it's famous wrestling lore even today.
Yeah.
Is he had the defense where he says there's never been so much as a breeze of scandal in the business, and he says like I've counseled people in prisons and I've seen lawyers, judges, everything. Hello.
That's Rey Mysterio calling in. It's Rey Mysterio calling in.
It's the ghost of Strangler Lewis.
Rey Mysterio. Let's let the answering machine
Strangler
answer.
Lewis is calling. He's going to make me look like a fool. And
I would stop, but then it's like, why bother? You know, it happens. If Conan's podcast can have all these people calling in, I don't see the point.
If they can have bong hits too.
Yeah.
That's what I like about his podcast is bong hits.
Yeah.
But Strangler Lewis said, I've never seen a wrestler in jail and stuff like that, and then. Fast forward, I'm at Cauliflower Alley, and I meet the late, great Duke Myers, and, Ed Moretti introduced, Kurt's a worker. He goes, you're a little worker, and I'm telling him, I do a lucha style, and he goes, he talks about it, but he says, by the way, I understand a little bit about lucha style, and he goes, I know how to do the latigo and the...
Wow.
And I'm going, really? And he said, I learned it... I learned it from my first teacher. I go, who trained you? He says, some guy in prison. I guess he did a stint in jail, and there's a couple of guys.
Maybe he went with the La Parca. The fake La Parca.
So I guess prison was actually turned into a positive experience, because after that, he became Duke Myers.
Yeah.
Actually had a good career. So anyways, but Mocho Cota... Now, his prison sentences, they were for drug running?
Well, he lived in Sinaloa, so...
Okay, there you go.
Or Sonora, right? Sonora.
And he pretty much grew up around that, I assume.
I mean, come on, all those guys from that area. But I didn't know a lot about that. That was more, I think Dr. Lucha probably found all that information on that. If I would have written that, I would have gotten in trouble with all the Lucha people. Like, why would you write that when he just passed away? I was like, well, sorry.
It's part of his...
I know, but you can't do that. You can't really... There's certain stuff you can't really write about, like if you're covering Lucha.
Yeah. I mean, it's acknowledged.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he was one of those guys who was really good in the early 80s as a welterweight. Was he a welterweight?
I believe so.
Yeah, so it was like...
No, the footage I saw of him...
The crazy hair and stuff like that.
Oh, God, yeah. I thought he was cool.
Yeah.
I thought he had a really cool look to him. I thought... when I saw his older stuff, he was a good worker, and when I saw him in the '90s, I wouldn't say he sucked, but he definitely
he was a lot older by that point. Well, he aged really quickly because I mean, even like before he died, they had pictures of him older, and he was like, what is he, like in
63,
his 63, and he looked like he was 70 practically.
Wow.
Yeah. So he had a pretty he had one of those, he lived life pretty much if he's that old looking.
Yeah. Well, anybody listening who has not read Fredo's piece on Chucho Villa, look on the LuchaWorld website for that, because it is an awesome story, and it's a rare story of a wrestler who actually traveled with his wife rather than trying to get away from his wife so he could play.
And they actually stuck together too, which was
amazing.
Even more amazing.
It's like my friend Tom Hankins, who has only smoked pot every day from 1968 till right now, has done a lot of wild things in his life, which is in his book called The Math, the Mob, and Music, which some dick named Kurt Brown wrote the foreword to. But he's had a pretty wild life, and still has a bit of a wild life for his age, but he's still married to his childhood sweetheart.
Wow.
Yeah. They right after high school, I think they got married.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, so, I mean, I don't know, like, it's just one of those, I think it's weird when a wrestler passes. I think everybody was passing away in 2016, every celebrity.
2016 sucked for celebrities.
I was kind of like glad because there wasn't a lot of luchadors that were passing away, and then like the last couple weeks, I was like, it's like, oh shit, because I hate writing obits. I was making a comment that I should write more ahead of time.
That's dumb.
Because it's very difficult. Like, it doesn't have to be an obit; it could be a bio, but it's like, because it's so like people want to read about it right away, and you don't have all that stuff right away.
I would rather take my time.
I took my time. I wrote it I actually wrote it like the next after 2 days, I think.
Yeah. No, but I'd rather wait until I felt good about the article. I realized if we were absolute bona fide journalists, that wouldn't be an option. Yeah. You have to work fast. Yeah. But I'd rather work on it till I got it right.
Yeah, so let's get to CMLL, because I don't want to be down this entire podcast talking about death. So you skipped Maximo Sexy's hair match with Mascarena Los Mil, right?
Yes, I did.
You skipped the women's cage match?
Oh, I wouldn't have watched it if I...
That was on Christmas Day, come on.
Oh, God.
You had something better to do on Christmas Day?
The only reason I would have watched it is because I think several of the gals are really cute in it, and but I can find photos of them online with that.
You didn't want to watch...
Was Amapola in it?
I think she was.
Yeah, I might have kind of sort of watched it.
Yeah, I believe she was. I watched it afterwards, but I gotta tell you, the first 20 minutes of it, it's very forgetful. The last 5 minutes with when it's just Vaquerita and Zuxis is good, because Zuxis is really good. Mm-hmm. But the rest of it, the only highlight was at one point Dallas was trying to escape the cage, and her the Technicas are trying to pull her down, and they grab her by the trunks, and they start pulling down her trunks.
I'd be up for that.
Yes, but Zuxis climbs up and lifts up her trunks. That's the only reason she climbs up, to lift up her trunks, and fixes it for her. But I thought that was hilarious.
It's
a cage match. I mean, what do you expect from me? And there were so many freaking cage matches. IWRG, I think, had one. There was another indie group that had a cage match. It was so many.
I don't know the reason they do it a lot, because a cage match is kind of like a gimmick that has a purpose, and
it doesn't draw either.
So. It doesn't draw. I mean, the only way it would draw was if you only used it like twice a year and had a good story behind.
Well, CML does, but I mean, nobody really cares about. Everybody wanted to see a singles match with or something smaller, like a smaller group of women, and it's like they just kept adding all these women into it,
and a lot of women who can't carry each other.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a cluster. So.
Yeah. So that was bad. The Mascarena Los Mil Maximo Sexy match was horrible.
Oh, jeez.
We talked about the finish, how everybody got upset about that. And then after that, there was the Three Kings Day show, which was January 6th.
Was that the Friday show?
Friday, not this past, but the Friday before that.
Yes.
Which was really good. It was a show built around rematches of feuds and matches from 2016. And you actually watched that, right?
I watched it. The only thing
the women's match.
Missed.
Yes, right. You didn't watch that.
No. When I got home that Friday night, I didn't get home in time to see the first two matches. But before I came here today, I watched the Cavernario versus Ray Cometa match, which I gotta say I read a lot of people comments saying it was rushed. I thought it was fine.
Yeah. And it was faster paced more than rushed.
Exactly. And it was the second match. And, of course, you see Cavernario, so you are a better judge of this. But the times I see him, something I love about him is he doesn't do a lot of wasted moves, like a lot of, like, half-ass punches.
Yeah.
Or I always call them rest punches. And I'm sure they've been around for a long time, but I first remember noticing them when ECW was the rage in the mid-90s, and I remember I had a friend over who, he was a non-wrestling fan, but he just dug the whole ECW thing. But the one thing he'd always say is, okay, this is the one thing I don't get. When they drag somebody out to the other end of the arena by their hair, but the guy is willingly walking with them. They're not really being dragged.
Yeah.
He's willingly walking with a guy who's dragging him, and occasionally the guy would throw a couple of lame punches.
And they still do that now with when they do when they're going to climb up something.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see that all the time, and this is, again, I'm not the best judge, but the times I see Cavernario, most of his punches seem to mean something. He doesn't just start randomly throwing them.
Yeah.
And
plus, he was in there with Ray Cometa, who's really
and he's, I think, really underrated.
I can't believe you missed the women's match. That was what the show was going to be built around. That opening women's match.
Well, you know what? I figure because I saw the women's match the Tuesday before.
You're like, that's enough for me.
But you know what?
It was good, right? I heard it was good.
That was a really good match, and I'm saying, I don't know why they're not that way all the time. It's
weird. It's just a weird. It's a weird.
Maybe some days they're inspired. Maybe some days they're not. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'd love to know. I'd just love to know the behind the scene things about why they do what they do.
Yeah. Yeah. So after that, it was the Panthers, the Dinastía Divina.
In fact, that's
Divino Laguneros versus Casas family.
Yeah, when you emailed me about that, that's what made me want to watch the show initially. Yeah. But then I saw the rest.
Emailed you? You didn't read my email.
I had to have, because that's why I watched the show.
No, you called me. You called me, actually.
I did?
Yeah, you called me before that.
What did I call you?
You called me to schedule a podcast.
A podcast that I didn't show up to.
Yes. Yeah, because it was last week. Were you scheduled? You called on a Wednesday, and I asked you if you were going to watch the January 6th show, and then you asked me what's on. I go, it's an all-star type of show, and I mentioned that, and you're like, oh, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
And I said, when do you want to do the next podcast? And you said, how about next Wednesday? And I'm here waiting for you to show up on Wednesday, and you never showed up.
Oh, I thought we were going to do that on Thursday.
No, I said, and then I sent you a tweet later, a direct message, and I said, hey, how about we do it on a Thursday? Because I'm free that day.
Oh.
And then you never answered that. You didn't answer my email, and then you didn't answer my direct message.
Oh, I am so sorry. And
people listening to this show are probably like, Fredo, he does that all the time to me too.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I tell them when they tell me, hey, how come Kurt doesn't answer my email? I go, he doesn't answer mine. Why would you think he's going to answer yours?
It's called ADHD, but I do not like that phrase.
Yeah.
I like to call it Space Cadet Syndrome.
Because when you mentioned that,
So what's our solution? We came up with this.
Yeah, I'm going to text you.
Because a text, I can't escape that. A text shows up on my phone. You have got a text.
Yeah, so when you called, I told you, and I you're like, what's on that? And I gave you the entire lineup, and you're like, oh, that sounds like something I'm going to watch.
Yeah.
And you
so what I'm going to do with my phone, I'm going to try to do this, is I always get a little ringtone of some sort, or I think Highway Star plays whenever I get a text. I'm going to try to find a sound bite that says, Vandal, you've got a text. Answer it, motherfucker. So that's
going to be your Lucha text message.
Yeah. What goes wrong with this podcast is not Fredo's fault. I'll be the first to admit that.
So Panthers versus Casas. What'd you think of that match?
I loved it.
That match was really good.
That was awesome. I mean, you're talking about the gold standard.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they had it being CMLL. I thought they were going to give the win to the Panther family, but if you remember, the Casas family won a tournament to get a shot at the Mexican National Trios titles. So they were smart where they actually had them win this match. So at least it gives you like a reason, like And a lot of people are going to forget anyways.
Predictability, because I thought Panthers were going over, and I bet you most people did.
Yeah, but just because it's CMLL, but I'm thinking Casa's family has to win to continue their feud with and somebody even asked me, they're like, how come Felino wasn't teaming with them? And I go, well, Felino can't because Nero Casas he's involved in that for the future title match. It's him and I think Puma and Tiger prefer Negro Casas.
Yeah. Negro Casas still has his working shoes on. Don't get me wrong, I still like Felino a lot, but Casas, as far as the second generation, he is the worker. But I also like how each team had the daddy of a dynasty, and the rest of the wrestlers were, the next generation.
And the other thing is that Puma and Tiger were explaining it that when they have Felino does a lot of the spots that they do with. He actually joins in with them, whereas Nero Casas, he comes in and then he lets them do their own thing when he's out. And they said they kind of like that. And plus, Nero Casas is a lot. They didn't want to say it, but they kind of insinuated that he's a hell of a lot better than Felino.
And that's no derogatory statement at Felino.
Yeah.
It's just Negro Casas is the gold standard.
Well, Felino at one point was really good. Now he's a lot more comedy than he is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So after that, we had Volador versus Mephisto.
Oh, yes.
That was a really good match.
That was good. I don't remember what the finish was.
It was a Spanish fly.
Okay.
Top rope Spanish fly. But that basically was Volador Jr. doing all his crazy dives.
It was also just a great...
I say if we interview Flyer, we ask him if he watched that match. It should just be him answering Volador Jr. questions the entire time. After that match... we had a match that actually ended in 2 falls. Marco and Maximo versus Rush and La Mascara.
Which was refreshing, seeing a match go 2 spots.
Yeah, and I think they had to because they were speeding up everything. Yeah. They were trying to...
Plus, I think they should throw that in the mix a little more often because...
But it's so funny that they remembered that feud. I think the other podcast I do, we were talking about how we were surprised that they remembered that feud because that feud was really good, I think back in March, April. And then they just cut it off. Remember, they just stopped it suddenly because they were doing hair challenges.
Oh yes.
They were doing a lot of stuff like that, and they came back to it. Yeah, but I don't know if they're going to continue. It's CMLL. You never know what's going to happen. After that, it was Valiente beating Ultimo Guerrero.
And
Dave Meltzer really loved that match.
I loved it too.
Yeah, and a lot of people hated it.
I loved it.
Actually, they didn't hate it. They just said it wasn't the best of the. But you know what? I think it's how many of the Valiente Ultimo Guerrero matches have you seen?
See, I haven't seen a lot of them.
Yeah, but they've wrestled a lot in the last couple months. Yeah. So the rest of us who have seen them 5 or 6 times, it's like, oh, we've already seen it.
And I think that's something that we've talked about before is so much wrestling on the internet is available that sometimes I think maybe the older guard of CML doesn't realize, people have seen them in every city on YouTube.
Yeah, then they have the even the random trios.
Yeah. I gotta say though, I love that Valiente is getting a push because I've always really liked him. I dig his new look and
his roided up look.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I think it makes him stand out more. I do like his old look. I actually, while I like his new look, I miss his old look, but I think he looks more unique.
Someone was asking me why there's why there's so many fans who actually was the other part of the Lucha Talk. I always forget. People are gonna be you just said it in Lucha Talk. They were asking me about why I thought so many people haven't really there's some fans who don't like Valiente as much as they did when he was. I said because he was chubby and he was the underdog.
Yeah, he was definitely a
I think that's and I also think that CML kind of waited too long to push him.
Yeah,
and I think right now a lot of the fans aren't really accepting him as because now he's really the good third guy on a trio right now.
He
really
is, and he does have a unique look.
But he's not a headliner. He's not a main event.
No, but I still am glad he's getting a push because I always thought he was a good soldier. He was somebody.
Yeah, and
always had his working boots on. And
everybody in CML there's 40 guys who are in that main event circle of group of guys. So it's
because the night that he put over Volador Jr., it was one of those times where I kind of felt like I was a kid again watching wrestling because I really did not expect him to go over.
Oh, when he beat Volador.
That I love a surprise like that. And
it upset me because I wanted Volador Jr. to win everything.
Because we've interviewed Volta Jr. and he's our buddy.
Yes.
He's our buddy.
He's our buddy, and
we have interviewed him, and he's always been super nice.
Nice
guy. And so
like he said, he was even surprised when I said I thought he was going to be an asshole. I need to stop saying this stuff like to people when we interview them.
That is funny.
Like I just come up with like even the traumas, and I don't know what's going on with Trauma too. He hasn't been around, but I'm guessing he must have the same issue you do. You guys are brothers, so
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
He hasn't been around. Hopefully, he's okay.
Oh my god. Okay. We become fabulously wealthy. I know it's going to happen in Fantasyland, but I'm going to team with that brother. And
randomly no show everything.
Yeah, and half the TV show is us trying to find the arena. Or no, we know where the arena is, but we look. Oh, there's a 7-Eleven. Let's get a Slurpee. I love Slurpees. And then on the Slurpee cup, there's some gimmick like a baseball star on the cup, and going, oh my god! Hey, I think there's a Dodger game going on. Let's go.
But it's funny because he was the one that I contacted on Facebook. And he would never answer anything. And I'm just thinking, well, I think this guy must have been like exactly your brother.
Yeah.
I should have gone with the serious one, but I didn't think the serious one, because the serious one, when somebody's serious, they don't seem like as social. But I think I think he might be the one that he would answer you and stuff like that more. He's more accessible, even though he's a serious one. Yeah. So what were we saying?
We were talking about
Volador Jr. about our friend Volador Jr.
Oh yes. Our friend.
Yes. After the Valiente Ultimo Guerrero, like I said, it's just like a match that was very repetitive. Like, I just felt it was repetitive.
Yeah, and since I haven't seen him a lot, it was really fun for me.
And then the main event was Atlantis, Caristico, Mystico beating the other Guerreros, Laguneros. And they actually had a cool finish where they had Caristico and Mystico do La Mystica. Mm-hmm. And then Atlantis did Atlantida to get the win, so I thought that was a cool finish.
And Atlantis, another guy who still has
the crowd heat. I think the other thing that happened with Valiente and Ultimo Guerrero and the main event, the crowd was really into the first 5 matches, and I think they got so tired by the end. Especially you watch the Rush, the tag match with Rush and all them. They were doing so many crowd shots that I think a lot of people just got dizzy of watching it online. But I think also the fans, I think you could tell the fans were really energetic for that.
Yes.
The women were yelling, drinking and stuff like that. So I think by that point, it was like, once they were done, it was like, okay, I'm tired.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's...
Go ahead.
That's something I think every promoter should be cognizant of. If you promote a show that goes too long, it doesn't...
It wasn't long. It actually ended shorter than the previous Friday shows.
Really?
Yes. 20 minutes shorter than the previous shows, which was weird because we thought, maybe that means
maybe it's just the other matches were too high octane.
Yeah, that's what it was. And the beer at Gringos, all these foreigners showing up getting beer for like a couple of pesos. They must have been like, holy shit, what? For $4 I could get everybody a beer?
Years ago when we used to go to Tijuana, I was always like the wheelman. I was always the one who drove, and I'd get this big beer for like just... It seemed like pennies. And I'm saying, damn, I could get so drunk right now, but I got to drive us home. So.
But the other guys were like, well, we don't have to.
The one time we did is when Pat Howitt, Fisico, Steve Gerber, and I, one weekend, we just got a hotel room in Chula Vista, just some cheap hotel. And Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night, we just went to wrestling matches. So that was one time when I just got bombed every night just because I could. And
because you just walked back home.
Yeah, we were taking taxis and stuff.
Taxis. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never forget the Saturday night.
Plus, you had Physico. So Physico, I don't imagine him being a heavy drinker, so...
No, well, he is sometimes.
Yeah.
But I've only seen it a few times, but
I'm guessing if he sees you drinking, he probably would have said, okay, I'll take a little less. So one of us has to. Exactly. One of us has to be. One of us has to be. Shockingly, yeah, he doesn't drink a lot, but when he does, it's amazing how much he can drink without it being apparent. Yeah. Yeah, what else was I going to say about this? I was going to tell you about Valiente. He was on the Lucha Retro show. This is like a match from like October. And I was laughing because first of all...
Retro?
Well, it's retro because it's on Arena Coliseo, so... I don't know why they call it Lucha Retro. Maybe that's why they show it 2 months later. It's retro by the time it airs. So he's in a trios match with and Zacharias and Perico's in it. Mm-hmm. And at one point, Zacharias and Perico puts him in a Fujiwara armbar.
No way!
Yeah. And then they cut to the next scene, and the next scene is Mr. Niebla giving Valiente a wedgie on the outside.
I love it.
It's a funny. Yeah, but that was basically it. There really wasn't a lot. The follow up show wasn't really that great. I haven't watched it yet, so I cringed the fact that they were watching this great show and the announcement because all the guys were getting ready for FantasticaMania. Mm-hmm. So they announced, of course, the announcement was the return of Rayo de Jalisco Jr.
Oh, geez.
Because that's really what fans want. And, the nostalgia. Mexico's very nostalgic for those guys, so I could understand. But it's like, if you look at the building, it's not even packed. It's not even... you could tell the people were like, oh, I'm not going because everybody's in Japan right now.
Yeah, I can see that. So,
the other thing that's happening in the next show on the 20th, Dragon Rojo Jr. and Pulvera are finally going to make official the new Revolucionarios with Bobby Z as the third member. If you remember, Rey Scorpion
yes, I do.
left and said they were lazy. And they have been... Dragon Rojo and Pulvera have been really good since that happened, really motivated. They've been... the bad thing is, with CML, a lot of their good stuff happens in the indies. Mm-hmm. They had this really good match on DTU's iPay-per-view from December against Gio and Junior. Really good match. If people haven't seen it, that's a match they should watch. I recapped it the last show. My poor niece had to listen to me recap death. I had to recap death matches. That's what you made me do, Kurt. You made me recap death matches with my poor little niece.
Your niece is learning how...
the value of a light tube.
Oh, God. And she's learning... it was an exercise of patience for her.
Yes.
Teaching her to patiently listen to...
people talk about wrestling.
yes. And even some very bad wrestling.
Yeah, well, that was good, though. Yeah, but not that. That wasn't great, but the Dragon Rojo Pulvera.
Oh, okay, yes.
That had chairs. Lots of it. So the other thing that happened, the update on Super Porky, he suffered a torn groin muscle. Wow. And so he's been out for 3 or 4 months, I think.
Wow.
He's doing the Lucha Retro announcing.
I still get nervous every time I see him.
Yeah, he said he's going to come back in a month and a half.
In his heyday, I loved him. Yeah. I liked all the Brassos.
He doesn't want to retire. They asked him about that. Remember that retirement rumor? He said he joked about it. He said, I joked about it. He's like, but I don't want to retire because he's like, I noticed when a lot of luchadors retire, they all die. A lot of them die.
Funny, yeah.
And he's like, I'd rather die doing what I love than actually dying just because I
remember Dr. Jerry Graham used to tell me I wish I could die in the ring.
Everybody, Nero Casas told us that, remember? And it's weird because when you say it, people are like, oh, that sounds so morbid. And it's like, it's not morbid. They're saying they want to die
doing what they love.
Not in the ring, it happens. They're going to die afterwards. Oh, I'm going to die in the ring. Doing a dive. Although I'm sure they would love that.
I would love.
Although I don't think they would, because when Pero Jr. passed away, I don't think a lot of the guys would have been like.
No, well, that was different. He was young, but I could.
That's not what they mean. They mean die as they get older.
If you're older and you collapse and die in the ring, I could see that being poetic. I know it wouldn't happen in a movie, but if I felt I was dying and could muster up the breath, I would just...
The kids you would have nightmares from that day.
No, I would make it be something that just moved everybody. If I had the cognizance and I wasn't in too much pain and I was still cognizant, I'd want my partner to be cradling and be like, don't go, Vandal. I'd say, tell Elena I love her and tell her...
Yeah. Yeah, so the other thing was Rush and La Máscara did an interview. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about their upcoming schedule for Japan. And La Máscara scheduled for the next Crash show in Tijuana. And they were talking about some of the older guys coming. Oh, because Mascareno dos Mitos was back. And Rush was confused why they wanted them to face all these old guys. And so Rush's comment was that Los Ingobernables are like Viagra because they always raise the dead. I thought that was the greatest line.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. I have never seen a wrestler who have gone from being somebody I never wanted to watch to somebody who just lights up the place with La Mascara. It's just...
La Mascara?
Ever since he lost his hood, I love that guy.
I thought you were talking about Rush.
No, I've loved Rush from the moment I saw him.
I thought La Mascara... I could watch less La Mascara as far as I'm concerned.
Well, let's put it this way. If he retired, I'd say, oh, well, that's too bad, but whatever. But if Rush retired, I'd go, no, don't. But no, ever since he lost his hood, I like that guy.
I hate him.
I love him.
No, just kidding. He's all right. So
don't make me arm wrestle you.
Yeah, so right now all the CML guys, a lot of the better wrestlers are in in New Japan for the FantasticaMania tour.
And Cavernario's.
Yeah, the early shows don't really look. I mean, they're entertaining, but they don't have the big matches.
They don't really turn it on.
Yeah, but the upcoming shows on the 20th they have Kamatachi versus Titan. They also have Dragon Lee versus Barbara Carbonario on the 20th. The 21st has Mystico and Volador Jr. versus Ultimo Guerrero on Euphoria. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're not tired of seeing Guerrero Flagoneros versus Sky Team, and I still feel bad I said that to Volador Jr. about being tired of watching that because they still have good matches. The 21st also has Atlantis versus Rush. Also, the 21st, Maximo Sexy defends the CML World Heavyweight title against Hechicero, who is actually a light heavyweight. But I mean, I think heavyweight, you pick the best, bigger wrestlers and you go with it. That should be, I think that's going to be, that might actually be something that will win over a lot of fans who hate Maximo right now because of just that simple kiss, or they think he's a clown or whatever.
Right.
I think my opinion of him changed like several years ago when he started.
Yeah, remember because
when he started working again.
When we talked about it, how suddenly one day he put his working boots on.
Yeah, because he was good when he was younger. Yeah. When he first started CML, he was good, but I think the act kind of grew tired.
Yes,
and he wasn't doing anything like special in terms of quality matches.
Something reignited his enthusiasm.
At that anniversary show. He turned it up, and he's been great ever since.
Absolutely,
I think the kiss thing. Yeah, it is serious, and it's not serious and stable like CML says, but it's I don't mind. Also, the 22nd is the final day of FantasticaMania. That show has Kamaitachi teaming up with Bushi versus Dragon Lee and Titan, which should be good.
Wow, that should be nice.
Mystico versus Euphoria and Ultimo Guerrero versus Volador Jr. Yeah, the last two matches, it's tag matches.
I would say it is. At least I enjoy seeing matches I've seen before, but with the totally different audience, like the Japan.
Yeah, and I also enjoy like where they mix in the New Japan guys with the CML guys, but those aren't really the big matches for those people. They want to see the Lucha guys.
Right.
I would have liked to have seen some maybe some Okada versus one of the CML guys or something like that. But I think that for them is like just fun for them more than anything. So that's that's CMLL right now with all their news. Lucha Underground, as you said, you actually missed. You haven't been keeping up with it. Actually, before we get to that, another kind of CML thing, but it's actually the Tijuana.
Okay.
Promociones Cholo de Tijuana. Mm-hmm. They had Hechicero versus Kaifan.
And I haven't watched it yet.
You haven't watched it? Great match.
Yeah.
Highly recommend watching that.
I saw about the first 5 minutes, and me.
Yeah.
Space Cadet Syndrome, something.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good.
I want to see it.
It happened that same day, that same Friday, and I actually think that might have been the better match out of. If you put all that against the CML matches, I think that might have actually topped all those matches.
Yeah, and now somebody like myself who hasn't seen much of the Lucha, do you think they're finally starting to come to
much of the Lucha? You sound like a gringo now.
No. Listen. And my brother-in-law made me an honorary Italian. So while I don't speak Italian, I speak idiotic Italian dialect. Like, much of the lucha.
Okay, so what was your...
My question is, are they finally getting it together and realizing how good Hechicero is?
And CML, he's getting the match with Maximo Sexy. He's headlining a little more. He's working against like Volador and guys like in trios matches. I think people want to see like. I think people look at New Japan, WWE, and they see like main events there, and they kind of want it to be like CML. But CML isn't like has their big main events are Dos Leyendas,
yes,
Anniversary. Everything else is just like and Grand Prix stuff like that. But like everything else is just trios, a singles match here and there, and the singles matches are really like the 4 or 5 guys. Tuesday shows are just crap, really. But I think they're doing a lot more with him.
I kind of wish that he's on the Japan tour. I was pleasantly surprised to see he's on it.
Yeah, and I was surprised he's getting a big match with a title match against Maximo. Yeah, and he's the number one guy that I think the independents want. CML guys. He's the one that everybody wants.
Does he hit Tijuana often?
He did for this show.
Wow.
He has a couple of times.
That'd be a reason. I haven't been to a Tijuana show in like 25 years, so
yeah,
he'd be a good reason. We should do it.
Kaifan too. Kaifan is great.
Yeah, I'd be up for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We could tell Kerry to bring them to you, bring them to UIPW.
If we can't bring Tijuana to us, Kerry
bring Tijuana to us. Hey, he brings Cholo every once in a while, so
true.
Yeah, we could ask Cholo to. Next time Cholo's here, we'll ask him.
There you go.
Although, when he's not selling us merchandise.
That's right.
Yeah. The other thing, because I think all these indie groups are tied in with CML in some way. Lucha Memes, the promotion that uses a lot of CML independent type, they use a mix. The promoter Danny Ledesma, he's gotten a little more inside with CML, so he's made the announcement that he's going to get a lot of he's going to get to work with Ring of Honor and New Japan in some capacity. And he mentioned on a podcast that there's been talks that he might get to book run a show, one of his Lucha Meme shows in one of the CML buildings. So that should be interesting. I'm guessing you could get Arena Coliseo. I mean, that seems like something you get. But anyways, their next show, the next Lucha Meme show is the Charo 8 on the 29th of January. And these shows, they're like all-star lineups. And he announced that they're going to have 2 matches available for VOD, video on demand, on YouTube, along with extra content and something else. But it's going to be Rush versus Raymond Rowe from Ring of Honor.
Okay.
And then the tag match, which is going to be Ronnie Mendoza, Laredo Kid versus Toxin and Flystar. Should be good.
Excellent.
That's it. That's all the CML I have.
Excellent.
Okay.
And now I guess on to AAA.
AAA. Well, Lucha Underground. We could get to Lucha Underground.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, Lucha Underground.
Season finale happened this past week. Well, Lucha Underground's been a little disappointing also.
Oh, that's too bad.
A lot of Sexy Star. But it's funny because a lot of people have been complaining about a lot of Sexy Star. But I think the bigger problem I have with Lucha Underground is that they have all this great talent, but Prince Puma was out. They did the injury angle with him. Well, the dead angle, really. He died.
Yeah, they like to kill people.
They killed him off for a bit. He's back. He's doing run-ins. Pentagon Jr. Pentagon Dark had that one show built around him, where it was him versus the Stardom Girls.
Okay.
Hasn't been back on since. And then King Cuerno hasn't been on. Hijo Fantasma. He hasn't been on because of an injury. He's been.
So like. Guys that a lot of the shows have been built around.
Phoenix and Aerostar, usually not on. I did a list. I kind of wanted to see what they did most often, and it's like Sexy Star and Cage were on 9 times. They had 9 matches.
She's the wrong person to build the stuff around. Seriously.
I mean, I think it's fine. Like if you do like one match every once in a while, but it's like, oh, dude. She never wrestled this much in AAA.
Exactly. I'm not one of those who say, "Oh, get Sexy Star out of there." I mean, she's not my favorite, but I don't mind seeing her, but to build most of the story around
it's like, you didn't, when all those years she was on AAA, you didn't tune in and she was on she would do skits and stuff like that, and she would work like a trios match with the women or the mixed tag or whatever, but it wasn't on every single time where it's like she was the focus. And worse, even if she was on a lot, she wasn't focused on. It wasn't solely focused on her, and this show kind of feels, ever since they started, and I even looked back the first season, only the second season really was when they didn't focus so much on her. But the first season and the third season, it's been a lot of focus on her. It's been a little difficult.
I bet you could get one of the greener girls in CMLL, and if you put them in Lucha Underground where they're working with guys,
it'd be just as bad too.
I don't know. Probably. Let's put it this way: I think you could find somebody better than Sexy Star in the role.
Melissa.
Yeah.
Mariposa. But I think she comes off more as a badass than anything. Ivelisse, but Ivelisse also kind of... Although Ivelisse could have done that role. Although Ivelisse, she seems like she'd be a little bit more of a fiery person to deal with. Plus, also she's been hurt a lot.
I do think also part of the trick is somebody who the promotion can work with.
And I think Sexy Star.
And it sounds like Sexy Star's been really demanding.
Well, not demanding. I think she might be easier to deal with for the Lucha Underground people than.
But with AAA, she was hard.
AAA, right? Well, yeah, but that's AAA.
Yeah, true.
AAA, like they lose.
Although there's a bit of revisionist history where they used to say she was the problem, and now that AAA is the problem, they're saying, well.
I think it's a little bit of both because she also was difficult to deal with.
Yeah, because there is no denying a lot of people who are in AAA are having problems with AAA.
Well, not anymore because they all left.
Yeah, I guess I should use the past tense.
Yes, a lot of them.
Yes.
Well, because I think everybody that's still there is okay with them now. But but with Lucha Underground, it's funny because they were building up this feud with Johnny Mundo and the Mac, and the Mac. They were going to have an all-night-long match, and instead of having it as a mid-season finale, which happened this past week, they had some other random group of matches, and that match isn't going to happen until, like, summer 2017. They're returning in summer 2017.
Wow.
So it's like you have to remember all this stuff in 7 months, probably?
Now, is there any buzz going around just the whole status of Lucha Underground? Because kind of with Ricochet...
And that's the other thing, because with them moving this... to summer, I think there's still about 20 more episodes to go. So, like, what's that? Maybe September, October it ends. So it's like, when are these guys gonna? When does first of all, when do the next tapings happen? And what's gonna happen with the status of some of these guys who have options to leave? Like, I'm guessing these guys kind of wanna. Don't they want to? Because I don't even know if Ricochet necessarily wants to leave to go to WWE, but I think he wants to. Like, I think he's more interested in New Japan. The other news about New Japan trying to like expand outside of Japan, I think they're thinking of coming to the U.S.
Well, they're going to be in Long Beach. Month. Yeah.
Next month? No.
Isn't it?
No, in July.
Oh, it's in July?
Yeah, the G1 Climax.
Okay. I gotta learn to. I gotta learn to figure out which season is which and which month is.
And then. But think about it. That's going to happen around the time that Lucha Underground is.
Well, and I'm curious about New Japan's motivations because
I think what the guy said that he got upset when WWE took away his talent.
Yes, that
sounds like the worst reason because I think that's kind of what killed WCW and TNA when they try to get bigger. And they kind of make a comment like that, a snide remark like that about WWE. I think that kind of motivates WWE to fuck you over more.
Well, when you're motivated by vengeance and just trying to, it's like
you're gonna lose your money.
Yeah, exactly. It's like picking up, what is it in Buddhism where they say you're picking up a hot coal in your hand, says I'm gonna throw it at them. But before you throw it at them, your hand is burned to the bone. And that's what you're doing. If you're doing it just for spite, that's not going to draw a crowd.
Don't you think that these guys should like be watching WCW and everything Bischoff did wrong?
Yes. And
that's what happened to Bischoff.
And they should should get a computer program where you get a simulation of what it was like to be in the audience of the Peace Festival in 1996. Star-studded, but if you were in the audience, what audience was there was excited. But there are a lot of empty seats.
Yeah, but it's weird. I mean, I understand they want to expand, and they have. I mean, of any promotion, they have the best possibility. Yeah. But I mean, the last thing they need to get those guys under contract, like whoever they think is a star. I don't know
why they haven't already.
You can't do that. The 1 year contracts are the dumbest thing possible.
That's so stupid. I mean.
They should have done that 10 years ago. 10 years ago was when they should have started doing that.
This is an industry where everybody knows that the top dog is Vince McMahon and that I mean, he's the king of owning wrestlers. I mean, that's what New Japan should be doing. If they want to be competitive, they should be... I mean, I hate to use that word owning somebody, but that's essentially what you do.
Yeah, and it's weird because a lot of the fans get upset that WWE takes their talent and all stuff. But it's like it's going to happen. You can't compete with them. Like the money wise, there really isn't a promotion that can match them. I mean, New Japan probably not even close. I mean, I would guess New Japan has maybe one. I don't even know like how much they would have to match them. But even if you can match them, the other problem is that's the goal. The ultimate goal is to go to WWE, and everybody, like even in Mexico, that's now the goal. Like everybody, that's their goal. It's not.
And now, if I was a promoter with that kind of status of New Japan, one, you'd want to keep the wrestler you have under contract from going before whatever program you have with them is up, and two, try to make it look like you should be the goal. Right? That's competition. It's, and for all the dumb things that CML might do, what I've always liked about them is throughout history, I think the biggest power play was made in the 50s when there was television opposition to them.
Yeah.
And ever since then, though, they didn't panic when UWA came around and AAA came around. I'm sure they were like...
they had to find guys to fill in.
Yeah, but they didn't panic and try to imitate everything they did or try to kill their towns. They kept on doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they wanted to do something bad to them.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like the storm hit, and instead of jumping in a lifeboat in a raging river, they kind of took shelter and just said, "Okay, let's keep doing what we're doing." Because I remember Conan saying this. I remember several other people when AAA hit the scene and was like just the new star promotion. I mean, the Observer Awards it got that year.
Yeah,
it was amazing, and it's not to mention just on the home turf. But everybody said this is the end of CMLL.
Well, think about how many years has Dr. Lucha said it's the end of CMLL? And that's recent, not like in the... He was saying that like in 2010,
no,
wasn't
that's
it?
true.
Remember, he was saying that, and it's still around. And it's... I think they realize that they can't match WWE. I don't know if they quite grasp where their place is, because I think they're missing the boat on being like the promotion that can actually like develop young talent. Because they have a wrestling school.
No, that's so true.
There should constantly be like, Mascara Dorada left. Hey, we have Sansón, Cuatrero, all these other guys. This Barbaro Carbonario, Dragon Lee, Mystico. We have all these other guys that can fill in. Somebody else leaves. Hey, here comes this other guy. And I think that's the one thing that I think will help them with that. Mm-hmm. That other promoter from Lucha Memes.
Wow.
And I think the guy, because he made a comment that what he wanted to do was have a match where it's students from CMLL versus guys from his group. And I think that would be great, because
cool.
A lot of the students, we don't see them for years. And I think this would be a good way for them to like develop, get some exposure at a young age. You got to work in front of a live crowd every once in a while.
Oh yeah, you can do every move, every high spot, every hold over and over again, but until
tumbling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
the very first thing you're taught.
Yeah, so it's like you got to do it at some point. You can't just like spend 6 years, and it's because you hear all these stories about CMLL students who are like Pentagon Jr. told this story. He's like, I went to the Arena Mexico school, and I was talking to this one guy while we were training, and I go, "Hey, how long have you been here?" And he said, "I've been here for 6 years." And he looked at him and was like, "Wow, fuck that, I'm leaving."
Yeah,
he's like, I'm going somewhere else.
Do you have to work in front of a live crowd, but you have to get them used to the constant on the road travel, because that's another thing that I know it doesn't sound like much, but you're going to be traveling every day of the week most likely, and even if you work in front of a good local crowd, that's a heavy adjustment.
Yeah, so it's like, I think this is something, and I think that guy who I said is, like I tell you, his tweets, like sometimes he'll tweet something like, I want to say like, "Oh, that's cool, you're doing a great job," but then the next thing he's like, "Don't compare me to other promoters, because I'm a legit bigger promoter than those guys."
Oh, jeez.
And it's like, dude, you're doing what we've been doing here in the U.S. for like a decade or longer.
Yeah.
Those all-star shows have existed for a long time. You're not doing anything new. You're just taking something that you saw somebody else do in the U.S., bringing it to Mexico. Nobody else in Mexico has figured it out. They're still doing old-style traditional promoting.
Exactly.
And, there's people here that promote in Lucha. They don't even do that. They promoted the old style. And I'm like, there's people here who could probably, like, if they Volador coming here, I would be like, Volador's going to be here for a weekend. Why don't I get Volador versus Johnny Mundo? Because obviously that's now now it's possible to do, and then like just create an all-star show beyond that. Like that's what I'm thinking. Why don't people do that? But nobody does it. So
yeah, it's funny, the possibilities. I think something happens when you actually start promoting, because I've known a lot of people...
You get a little big-headed.
Yeah. They have these really good ideas before they start promoting, and they're even aware of mistakes and pitfalls, yet when they start doing it, at some point, they start making those very same mistakes that they were aware of.
Yeah.
One is bringing in more big talent than you need to, spending too much money. Like, almost like you panic thinking, if I bring X amount of big names out... people will come, and most of the time the same amount of people will come if you only have two of those big stars.
Those shows that happen that he runs Mexico happen all the time in conventions.
Yes.
That's basically the whole build-up of a convention show. It's like all those, like, a star-studded show. That's really what it is. Like, the only difference is that he's the only one that's doing it in Mexico. I mean, if he wants to use that as an excuse, then that works.
Yeah.
So now that we've complained about all these promoters and stuff, let's talk about AAA, the other promotion that everybody complains about.
Where we can really complain.
Yeah.
Let's go through it, because when we complain about AAA, it's painful.
Well, we're not going to complain about it. We're just going to give a...
We're being silly.
There's a couple of... I think the news right now is Aerostar, Drago, and Argenis are going to form a trio. They're trying to come up with a name. That's really the... That's the good news.
That's the big news.
That's the good news. Actually, the big news. The big news is they're running Guerra de Titanes on January 20th. The lineup, it's... I don't really know if we want to run through the entire lineup, but the opener, of course, being the Relevos de Locura. Which is a standard AAA opener. Yeah, a standard AAA opener. Then they have the Apache Sisters versus Averno Chessman again. Then they have a AAA Cruiserweight title match between Hijo del Fantasma and Garza Jr. That could be good. Garza Jr. Garza Jr. I think he's okay in the ring. He's got a great look. He's a good-looking dude. Mm-hmm. Wonderful person. I mean, the guy, like, he does interviews and he comes across like a really nice guy. So I think he's a guy that they want to turn into a star, but I don't think he wants to commit completely to AAA.
Right.
Because he's a Monterrey celeb, and I think there's still some talk that Conan had mentioned that a lot of the promotions in the U.S., when they talk about Mexican stars, he's the guy that they kind of want to consider. But I don't know. His in-ring style, his in-ring ability. He's not Hector Garza,
right?
But he's okay. He's not.
Do you think it's that he's green, or is it just that he doesn't have it?
No, he's just not. He's not great. He's okay. Yeah. He's not great.
Yeah.
He's good. Mm-hmm. He's good. He's not. And I think that also kind of, because Hector Garza was amazing in the ring, and he was talking about a guy who was misused in everywhere. WCW, WWE when he was there briefly, TNA. Well, that was more his fault than TNA.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Then there's a cage match where the final two will determine a mask or hair match at Rey de Reyes. Mm-hmm. So they have Aerostar versus Superfly versus Argenis versus Australian Suicide versus Angelico versus Carta Brava Jr. Carta Brava Jr. is Goya Kong's husband.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So when Goya Kong returned, he returned.
Gotcha.
And he got a push.
I didn't realize they were married.
Yeah. Then the fifth match is Johnny Mundo defending the AAA Latin American title against Pentagon Jr. It's a rematch from... I think a lot of these matches, you're probably... If you saw Heroes Immortales or heard about it or read the lineup, it probably sounds very similar.
Yeah, it sounds very familiar.
Yeah. The main event is Psycho Clown, Tejano Jr., and La Parca versus Dr. Wagner Jr., Pagano, and Messias. That's basically like... Yeah,
I was going to say...
not very exciting.
Wash, rinse, repeat.
Well, right now in a lot of the AAA, the people that use AAA talent, the main event is basically a three-way everywhere. A three-way. It's usually Psycho Clown, Pagano versus Dr. Wagner. Psycho Clown versus Pagano versus Dr. Wagner Jr. Or if Psycho Clown isn't available, it's La Parca. Pagano versus Dr. Wagner Jr. Or Pentagon Jr. versus Pagano versus Psycho Clown.
Gotcha.
Or Dr. Wagner Jr. versus Hijo del Fantasma versus Pagano.
So it's a similar main event everywhere.
Wow. I think Cubs fan or I are going to buckle and decide on doing a report or an article. Just noticing the trend. Yeah, so that's AAA.
That would actually be a fun read. I got it.
AAA.
Okay, so there's the episode, folks. LuchaWorld.com.
follow us on Twitter
and Facebook.
Lucha, what's your Twitter?
Vandal Drummond. I am Vandal Drummond.
Everywhere.
Okay. Yes. If you want to up the odds that I'll see what you post, or if you
I like how we're doing this, and we just mentioned about an hour ago talking about how you never check your email.
Which is why I'm saying this. If you want to up the odds, me seeing what you wrote and getting back to you, text me. But I'm not giving my number. But if you want to up the odds, Facebook, because I'm on Twitter about once a week. I'm on Facebook every day. So there's a good chance I'll see what you're...
Put it on his Facebook page. Don't send him a private message, though.
Do that thing where you can use really huge letters on the face, a huge font, and that way it's in my face and I have to see it,
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you for listening. And until next time, Hare Krishna.